Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be going over one hero for each role, starting with the safe lane. And going to position 5, I'm going to give you one hero and one new build. One of these builds I've talked about in a recent video, but the rest are completely new builds. Just essentially things I've seen in pubs, I've seen replays of, and have realized are, okay, like these are actually really good builds. So I'm going to give you a gist of the item build you should go as well, and let's get into it. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally, with the Game Leap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the Game Leap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. Alright, starting off with the safe lane, I'm actually really excited. I might spend the most time on this one, so stick with me, but we have LINA carry. I've seen LINA carry do very well. So, how does LINA carry work? Because it sounds odd, right? It's like this hero's traditionally a mid. But honestly, it's a little bit weird that this hero is traditionally a mid. I think it's kind of an outdated idea. I genuinely believe that this is somewhat of an outdated idea. And the main reason why I think this is an outdated idea is the hero really wants to play extremely greedy. And that doesn't mean mid laners can't play extremely greedy. It just means some games you don't necessarily want your LINA or your mid laner to be extremely greedy. Now, I will say the one downside of LINA safe lane is it's quite gankable. This hero is relatively squishy and doesn't have the best disengage. But other than that, let's talk about the main pros, because this hero's win rate is actually the highest of all carries on Dota 2 Pro Tracker. Yeah, I'm not kidding, it actually is. So what is the benefit? The main benefit of this hero as a safe laner, there's actually a couple. Number one, you're a good laner. Your hero is a good laner mid, it's a good laner in the side lane. It's particularly good with heroes like TREANT, Clockwork, Tusk, Marcy, heroes that can kind of run in for the LINA, enable its stun a little bit, and just help her do damage. In terms of the skill build, another one of her strengths, you're actually gonna max out your passive. The build I've seen most is 1-1-1. Sometimes I've even seen people go a point in stun, and then actually 2 points in the passive if they think their lane is particularly easy. And yeah, you actually max out your passive. Pretty crazy, right? Because this is a build we've never seen before, but let's quickly talk about LINA's passive and why this works. The attack speed bonus goes up by 10 per level. This is massive, you get 10 stacks. So essentially at max level, you're gonna get 280 attack speed. At level 1, you only get 70 attack speed. It's a major difference. On top of that, the movement speed bonus is very noticeable as well. It's 3%, going all the way up to a 21% buff. That's way more than the active buff from phase boots, and you constantly have it. So essentially the idea is simple. You play LINA, you buy a Falcon Blade. Well, in terms of, let me quickly talk about the earlier items. Often you're gonna start with a bunch of stats, and then from there, you're gonna pick up a stick in a lot of lanes, just because you do have some mana problems. After stick, you're gonna pick up boots. After boots, you're gonna rush Falcon Blade. Gives you a little bit of mana regen that you need, some damage that works well with the attack speed, and gives you some HP. And then from there, you go Maelstrom. That's the key item here, the Maelstrom. It's not really hard to understand why this is good with LINA. She gets a ton of attack speed, and Maelstrom is an item that thrives off of attack speed. It gives you flat damage and has a chance to proc every time you attack, being the fastest farming item in the game on heroes like LINA. So really, you just shred camps. You wouldn't believe how fast this hero actually farms. And if you want to completely double down on farming, you want to be a Nature's Prophet type vibe, actually even better at farming than Nature's Prophet, you can go Maelstrom into Boots of Travel. That's really psychotic. I think the safer build is Maelstrom into BKB, and keep in mind you actually stay at Brown Boots. Some people go Treads, I'm personally not a fan. I don't think you get much value out of the attack speed at all, so I really don't like the Treads at all, actually. And then yeah, after BKB you go for Boots of Travel. After Boots of Travel, this is where things get weird. I've seen a couple different builds. If you want to play more of like a side lane pickoff type vibe, you can go Silver Edge. That's honestly good even if you're going to team fight, because if you're going bots, you can get into the team fight with the Silver Edge, burst someone, and go from there. And it's just a very high damage item, gives you the crit that you want. If you want to fully double down on damage, you go Daedalus into Dragonlance. And I've even seen a utility build or like a semi-utility build in the Gleipnir after BKB, giving you a way to set up for your LSA. And honestly, that build looks great too. The control is fantastic because you have no shortage of damage with LINA at all. And now let's quickly talk about her talents, which are key. At level 10, you have 20 damage, it's good for carry. At level 15, you have 350 health, good for carry. At level 20, you get 15 attack speed per stack, which is huge, and 1% movement speed. And at level 25, the talents are actually quite useless, but the first 3 are very, very good. So all in all, give this hero a try. It's very good as a carry. The second hero and the mid laner of choice is Doom. I know, right? Doom, you're like, isn't this an offlaner? But I was watching a replay recently and I saw a mid Doom and it looked really good. It looked really powerful. Like, I was very impressed by this mid Doom because essentially, here's the thing. He was laning against the Number Spirit. Now, you can play it into hard matchups because frankly, this hero has like 6 armor, just good damage. Its movement speed's fine. You buy a bottle, buy some tangos, you'll do fine. You know, you get a ton of armor, you can eat the range creep, like you're just chilling. It's very easy to lane with this hero, first off. But he was laning against an Ember, and honestly, you can do quite well against some of these melee heroes. If you want to take the Infernal Blade at level 4, you can get quite aggressive in some of these matchups. Scorch Earth just does a ton of damage and it shoves the wave into the enemy tower. And for mid lane, that's really nice to have because when you can shove the lane into the enemy tower, basically, it's very hard for them to contest runes. And that's the main thing. Now, I will say the downside of Doom is I don't think he's the best ganker. He doesn't have much mobility. And if you want to go greedy for a Midas, you're really awful at ganking. But I do think there's some viability in going phase boots, then going Windlace, and actually putting only 2 points in Devour and then maxing out Infernal Blade so you can get active around the map. Personally, the person I watched went Midas into bots, a complete double down on greed. And that can work if you think your teammates really don't need help. Like maybe you have very favorable side lane matchups and you can fully greed and play for a later timing because they'll hopefully do okay with their net worth lead. But in a lot of games, I think it's very risky. Essentially, try mid Doom, you go Scorched Earth, you max it out. If you want to be safe, max out Devour afterwards, and then max out Infernal Blade. And from there, you kind of just go the standard build, which is Midas into BKB after BKB, Blink after Blink, Boots of Travel after Boots of Travel, you go Octarine. After Octarine, you go Ags or Refresher. Now, for offlaner, we got Bounty Hunter. Really big fan of Bounty Hunter offlane. It's actually something I think is particularly good in your average pub. I think it's really good. This hero has incredible base stats, good base regen, extremely good base armor, solid damage, and then Janata, it's good for securing CS, and it's really good for just harassing the enemy. Now here's the build you go. I think the item build items you should start with are 3 tangos, branches, and then 2 mangoes and a quelling. And from there, you actually just rush Ring of Health. Like you just rush Ring of Health and rush Vanguard. And the simple idea is you just sit in the lane and you just spam Janata on the carry. And you can get a 3-4 minute Vanguard, and then you just keep Janataing them. If they want to lane against you, they typically can't kill you because you're a melee hero with 8 armor, 9 armor, sometimes 10 armor, and a Vanguard, and you just steal all their gold. It's very straightforward, but it's effective. Like, there's nothing too crazy to say. It's just effective. This hero also recently got a buff to its Shadow Walk and now slows attack speed, which is definitely interesting, and it's very notable, 40 attack speed at max. And in terms of the playstyle, I recommend, as I said, you rush the Vanguard. After that, go Boots into Phase Boots. After Phase Boots, I like Magic Wand. After Magic Wand, Ags. And don't roam too much. Try to stay in your lane and really just prevent people from farming the lane. You don't have to feel bad about just farming a creep wave for a while. Like, I know a lot of people are going to feel tempted to roam because they have track. And yes, you can punish dives if you think you're going to TP in and get 2 or 3 track kills. Of course, that's worth it. But really don't overforce the issue. A lot of bounties, I'll see them try to just like dive towers at level 8, level 9 with their phase boots, and it can work, but most of the time you overextend and die when you could have just staticked your wave and prevented anyone from farming 30% of the map because you're just stealing all their gold and harassing them with Janata. And then yeah, from there you just have really, really good talents that synergize with this Ags build. If you don't know what Bounty Hunter Ags does, it increases the cast range on Shuriken Toss and applies Janata on hit. So essentially, you steal gold when you throw shurikens at people, and it applies to Janata, so it does 180 bonus damage. And keep in mind, at level 10, if you want it, you also get 40 Janata damage, which generally is what you should take, and so then it does 220 damage, and basically, you throw shurikens on a 5-second cooldown that do 420 damage, as well as steal gold. You can see why it's very, very effective, as it also increases the cast range. Keep in mind as well, when you track someone, the Shuriken Toss actually does bonus damage as well. When you have level 1 track, it does 40% more damage, then 70, and then double the damage. So this ability can get really insane as the game progresses. As keep in mind as well, at level 20, you get 50 Janata gold steal. So you just steal gold. And by the way, you're bouncing the shuriken off heroes, because when you track heroes, the shuriken bounces all to all the tracked heroes, as long as they're close to each other. And at level 25, you get 2 shuriken toss charges, and this is where things get ridiculous. You get an Octarine Core, increase your cast range, right? So you have this Octarine Core. and then you have these Giga Shurikens with the Ags, and things just get wild. It's very fun to play. Coming in at number 4 is Earth Spirit. This hero is not a great laner, but it received a recent buff, giving a big buff to the cooldown of its W. So essentially, the charge restore time on the Stone Remnants was decreased by 2 seconds. And it might not seem like a big deal, but it really does add up. This hero just simply has more Remnants now, and yes, it is quite noticeable. You can ask most Earth Spirit spammers. No, it doesn't make the hero broken by any means, but I think it's quite good. And honestly, I'm a big fan of Earth Spirit playing this very high tempo of contesting runes, stacking camps, but most importantly, contesting runes. I think a big part of Dota right now is about making moves on the mid lane, griefing the mid laner's rune economy. Like, if you can take one water rune and your mid laner can take one water rune, the enemy mid is griefed if they have a bottle. Like, their game becomes so hard. And Earth Spirit, with lower stone cooldown, can kind of just roll around a little bit more comfortably and pick up all the runes and just really grief the enemy mid laner and their economy. I will say that the only downside of this hero, big downside, is he's not a great laner, but you can kind of get away with it in your average pub, and yes, the hero is very hard, so that's a downside as well. But Earth Spirit, I really am a big fan of the BKB build. You just go for boots 1, raindrops, clarities for mana, and then into BKB, and you just pop your ulti and magnetize people to death. It's insane how much solo kill potential you have. And talking about solo kill potential, the other build you can go is Vessel. That's just the solo kill build. You magnetize, you Vessel, they take like half their health, even if you never refresh the magnetize. It's pretty freaking insane. And finally, for position 5, we have TREANT Protector. Now, yes, I made a video on TREANT recently, but this build is a little bit different. I saw someone do it in a recent qualifier match, and I thought it looked very good. So I've been incentivizing you guys to actually take the Leash Seed on TREANT. It was buffed recently, does more damage, better cast point, better cast range as you scale it. So TREANT got a big buff on Leech Seed, and I stand by the fact that that build is good. It's very powerful, and I'm a big fan of basically 1 point in the Leech Seed level 1, then Nature's Grasp if you have kill potential. If you don't, you take Living Armor, and then back to the Leech Seed at level 3. But this build, it revolves around maxing Q and E. He was laning with a Medusa against a Doom, so not a very high pressure lane. Neither hero can really pressure each other too well. So it was a pretty even matchup, and he didn't need to help too much in terms of the lane. So he actually maxed Nature's Grasp and maxed the Living Armor. And so he had these abilities maxed out much quicker than you would expect. And this is big because really, I didn't realize how good Nature's Grasp actually can be, especially with the buff to Overgrowth, making it do a little bit more damage, 30 more damage at level 1, which does matter in the early game. It definitely does. This ability is kind of insane. If you hit a good Overgrowth, it's going to do 85 damage a second for 3 seconds, right? Which is a lot. And then your Nature's Grasp does 90 damage. If you connect it to a tree, it does, instead of the 60, 90 damage per second. So your hero does 175 damage per second if you overgrowth them for 3 seconds, right? It's like a 500 something damage nuke, right? What is that, 525? It's like a 525 damage nuke. Insane, right? It's ridiculous. In an AoE, you can catch multiple heroes in this. I mean, TREANT's damage potential at level 9, because you still should max out Living Armor. Keep in mind, he did put the 2 points in Nature's Grasp, but he did finish the build by maxing Living Armor at level 7. And the reason why this is important is this Living Armor ability is straight up insane. It's a 30-second duration of 12 armor, which is like that's just ridiculous. 12 armor for 30 seconds? Like heroes like Lesh and DP who have no armor and want to run in? I mean, they just thrive with this hero. And then it also heals them for 180 total, which is certainly not nothing. It's definitely not nothing. It's quite nice. And you can put it on 2 heroes because it's a 30-second duration, 15-second cooldown, so you can nearly have it on 3 heroes. I think you can if you have Octarine, which is pretty insane at the same time. And yeah, you just play to defend towers. You're not going to do too much damage previous to Overgrowth because the Q is pretty hard to set up without Overgrowth. You can use other stuns, of course, but Overgrowth is just a long duration disable, so play around that. Until you have Overgrowth, just defend your safe lane tower. Living Armor the safe lane tower, grasp the wave, you have both these abilities maxed out, and stall the enemy push. But alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video on one build for every single role. If you have a build you've been trying, leave it down in the comment section down below, and let me know which one you are gonna, probably try from this video. Nonetheless, thanks so much for watching, boys. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.